Alright, very tired, but I thought I'd do this response video to Professor Anton. It seems when I played this video it was sort of reasonable. I mean, it was wrong, but it was reasonable. So I will try to explain my position. Yeah. As opposed to your position.
I guess I was thinking a little bit about the degree to which a gift can be imposed upon someone. And I guess that's maybe part of the meaning of the word gift, is that gift unexpectedly arrives.
Yeah, well, that's sort of the catch. I mean, sometimes gifts aren't unexpected. You know, you do expect them. It's almost like wedding gifts or something. You know, you buy them at the right store, you already decide what the people want, so the gift is going to be exactly what they want. Somebody says, I want this, this, this. Yeah, you can't go wrong because they know exactly what they want. You're not going to buy the second-hand one or a broken one or, you know, the Chinese copy of it. You buy the real deal. So some gifts are done well, and then some gifts are sloppy, you know, where somebody says they want something and you, like, you know, glue some shit together and call it what they wanted or something, you know. So there can be a huge difference. And so I guess the issue is, if you're going to give, it's again with the argument, is it a job worth doing well, kind of thing, job well done. You just don't do it sloppy. If you're going to do it right. So if you're going to give a gift, make sure it's a goddamn gift.
And you now have to do something with it, whether you either asked for the gift or not, and whether or not you really like that gift. There is a being gracious in light of an unasked for, unappreciated gift where someone else thought that they were doing you a favor.
Yeah, well, see, relating this to imposition and the argument that's been made in antinatalism, I just don't think it's a fair way to argue the issue. I don't think people have kids for those reasons. I don't think it's an act of generosity. I just don't. Okay, I just don't. I don't believe statistically you could demonstrate it. It's just not. There's no. It would make no sense for somebody to have a world full of people in need and to say, I need to create a new person that needs. I mean, what they want is something from that thing they're going to produce. They want its love. They want its unconditional love. They want it to like the way they smell and the way they talk and the way they are. They want that childlike look at the authority thing, like they had for their parents. Whatever they're after, but they're after something. And whatever it is, they shouldn't satisfy it through somebody else's jeopardy.
This question of big forgiveness. There was a time when I was on YouTube, when I first began, when I was asking the question of, could your average Christian, whatever that expression means, could they forgive God if they suddenly discovered that there were no life after death? And I had many people chime in. Many people said, no, they could not. There's too much injustice, too much hardship, too much suffering all the way around, that there needs to be some ultimate recompense in the end. And I felt that was an unfortunate response.
Yeah, well, whatever. I just wish it'd be more direct. Yeah, so you're just doing this life as a journey thing, not a destination. That we can't expect, or we shouldn't expect it to be productive. You know, we shouldn't take it and give it evaluate the end result. That we should just sit there and accept the good parts and basically ignore the bad parts, is all you're saying. Just close your eyes, put on the blinders. And that's just a denial of the truth. What value is it in living a lie? I mean, what is the grace or the dignity or the stoicism in living a lie?
I do think, on the other side of that, there are many people who are unable to forgive, and so now they're In my language, they're in some way holding themselves hostage in an attempt to blackmail a fantasy to give them a happily ever after.
You are happily never will be. Yeah, that's sort of what we're after. Yeah, just quit playing with something you can't do right. You can't do this right. The mechanism doesn't allow for a right. Okay, because the only way it works is you have to break it and then fix it. That's the game we're playing here. This is a game where you take something precious, you break it, and then you spend the rest of your life trying to glue it back together. And if you're lucky, you glue it back together well enough to put it back on the shelf and say, there, I've accomplished my mission. But have you really accomplished anything? Alright, wouldn't it just have been simpler never to do the breaking in the first place?
People need to accept life's hardship, and I think part of
why do they need to do that? Again, why is that your expectation on me? Why do I have some obligation to accept mediocrity? Because you will? I mean, because if you're willing to do something, like say if there was dinosaurs and you could pay 50 cents to go ride a dinosaur, but there was a 1 in 1,000 chance the dinosaur was going to fuck up and step on you and squish you like a bug. And you said, I'm going for it because I love dinosaur riding. And I said, no, thank you. Okay, why would I do it? I don't even like dinosaurs. They stink. Why would I fuck with them? I mean, really? And so you're going to tell me I need to change? Why do I need to change? Why can't I say you need to change? I mean, let's say in the fact of the matter is that it's all or nothing. We all have to ride dinosaurs, or we all have to not ride dinosaurs. I would argue that the people saying not to ride have more rights than the people saying to ride. That you have less right to drag the people who don't want to play, okay, than the people who don't want to play. They have the veto, okay, because you're the one risking, and they're the one protecting what they have. So protecting what you have, the insurance against the flood or the fire, all right, building your house on the hill has more value, okay, than taking the risk of the beachfront.
Part of the question is the difference between suffering per se and meaning. I think we are creatures of meaning, and meaning, it isn't removed from...
Well, I'm not going to argue this one, but look, meaning is derived through the capacity to suffer. Everything that acquires meaning only acquires it because it has some connection to the vulnerability created inside of a human being. The capacity to put it in a deprivated state. To be in a state of non-winning, or non-success, or unsatisfaction, or uncompleteness. This is where meaning is derived in attempting to achieve a state of complacency and comfort. So again, I would argue that you can't separate those words, that suffering is meaning. That's where it's all derived from, is some form of sentient harassment.
Physical materiality, but we can't just locate it in the physical materiality. I think it is very similar to suffering, that the suffering of another, maybe it's more real, suffering is, that we can act with some predictable way and anticipate what would bring suffering to another. I think we have some assurance there.
Yeah, we have insurance in the sense that we can all say the word headache and have some notion of it. We can all say car run over the foot, and we're all going to have a notion of what that would be like. Knife cutting hand or whatever the thing. We can all describe a circumstance, and we probably all have a pretty similar understanding of what that's going to implicate in terms of a sentient experience. And so, yeah, there's great commonality in understanding some of those negative sensations, and there's very little commonality, though, in understanding desire. Because if I don't feel what you feel, I can watch somebody love sushi and eat sushi and get all smiley and glowy and happy because they're eating this stupid decorator food. But if I don't feel the desire, if I don't have the hunger, I'm not going to be able to appreciate it at all. It's just going to look stupid and insane and inane. So there's not going to be any commonality. The word headache isn't going to, that word is going to mean something. The word delicious, raw, stupid colored fish wrapped in seaweed isn't going to mean anything to me.
Because there is a horizon of meaning available to people. That's why it makes people in some way invulnerable, at least at certain aspects of their life. That take the woman who gives the baby up for adoption. Now, I wanted to talk about that. I think that more of the discussion, from my perspective, should focus around the haggle between those who are antinatalists and those who are basically pro-adoption. Because I think they're...
Well, why there wouldn't even be a need for adoption, again, if people weren't reckless and sloppy. So yeah, well, why wouldn't somebody be why would an antinatalist be not pro-adoption? Of course he's pro-adoption if fucking orphans exist. But he would argue the orphans shouldn't exist in the first place. I mean, why wouldn't you clean up that milk? If you're going to clean up the ocean of spilt milk, of course you're going to clean up the puddle of it. I mean, yeah, well, whatever.
The issue comes to a head. I mean, if a person is an antinatalist and they're just advocating contraception and they really think contraception is the rule, okay, very good. But if an accident happens or conception happens and now you do have to deal with it, would you advocate?
Well, look, theoretically, less of these accidents should happen in the future. With better and better technology, these accidents should be less and less possible. So let's not assume that accidents are inevitable in the future. And even if there are what you might call an accident, it can be taken care of before it becomes a human being.
Pro-adoption or pro-abortion. Okay, so again, I think pro-abortion is maybe a bad terminology. People will
be uncomfortable with it, but yeah, it doesn't really bother me. Okay, I don't mind saying I'm pro-abortion. Yes, I think you should do if you didn't do it right in creating the barrier, you certainly should stop it before it becomes a meltdown, before you allow it to become a sentient and to have a welfare. But I'm not going to, I don't even want to get into a silly argument about what is a more horrific act, slaughtering a mature pig with a fully developed sentience for a stupid meal, or aborting a human fetus, because the fetus is going to lose that in any kind of logical foundation. You can't make a rational argument that pig is going to suffer less than that fetus.
Yes. Okay. But I think it is interesting. The selfishness argument, anyway, it starts to come up in interesting ways, because it seems like the person, we could say that it's selfish to be a parent, but the person who risks their life, okay, if you have a woman who's willing to risk her life for the child and then to give it up.
No, risk her life to have a child, okay? Again, she's not risking, all right? There's two different equations. There's the risk of rolling the dice, how the dice turn out. And then there's the risk of the actual physical process of throwing the dice. And yeah, women are always going to be more invested in the actual process of throwing the dice. They're going to, break their arm or something just throwing the dice. But there's two equations here. The dice are going to decide the fate of that person born. That's one at stake. And then there's the at stake of that individual who's throwing those dice. And if they have a passion to do it, again, this is another risk equation. So why should they be able to assign an acceptable risk? If they want to just roll dice, it's fine. But as soon as those dice can determine the fate of another sentient being, that's where they still are imposing. Whether they're invested in rolling the dice or not is irrelevant. They're not invested in the outcome is still going to be separate from them. It's still another individual they're fucking with.
That seems like they're enduring a great amount of suffering because it's meaningful, and they're not really for selfish gains. Now,
meaningful, no, because they have a desire. So again, you're going to play with words. But let's cut to the chase. That's all there really is. There's sentient states of being, comfort or discomfort, and there's this mechanism of fear and desire. And through those four words, maybe you can describe what goes on in human psychology, but I don't think there's any other words that really have relevance. And the desire thing is essentially addiction.
Find a way to give it some sort of selfish spin there. But there does seem to be something there, in the same way that the person
well, you
wants
can
to
say there does seem to be, but you can see these psychologies. There's this nutty woman that had the 8 kids or whatever the hell she had, all on welfare or whatever, or the 18 kids, whatever the nutty number was. She just loved being pregnant. I mean, what the hell? So there's all kinds of psychotic out there. There's nutty women who'll kidnap other people's children because they're so psychotically obsessed. But they're fucking they're sick. Okay, like an anorexic or something else, they've got a completely perverted and distorted perception of reality. They're nothing to put on some sort of scale and say, this is altruism. No, it's fucking neurotic insanity.
Adopt a child, and I wonder, I don't think that it is, but I wonder sometimes, could it be the case that and again, there's so many different strategies of guilt expiation.
Yeah, whatever. Let's think this guilt thing is so irritating. But let's understand that people do this kid thing with this "you complete me" kind of idea in their head, that somehow through these children they will complete their lives or find their gratification or their satisfaction. And what they often find is that, it's a whole lot of trouble, and then they're all pissed off and resentful for their kids aren't giving them applause and saying, thanks a lot. And that's the game played.
All participating in. I wonder the extent to which antinatalism can't be seen as part of the many strategies by which we try to expiate guilt.
It's just such why even play this game? What element of what person arguing antinatalism are you going to tag with this label of having some sort of guilt complex? I mean, it's just useless nonsense. I mean, I don't feel guilty because I would choose not to be any of you. I mean, it wouldn't make any sense. I mean, if I felt some sort of envy for this life of these other beings or something, then you might be able to make an argument for this. But why would I feel at all guilty? I mean, I've had this huge benefit of not being born in absolute shit. And what I've acquired through that experience is a selfish knowledge that, holy shit, why would I roll the dice again? Why, I've entered a negative lottery. I've drawn straws, right? And I've pulled the long stick. Why would I go back and pull another straw if I don't have to? Why would I do that? I've gone through the round. I've got my long stick. I'm fucking got it in my pocket. I've made it. I'm spared. So it doesn't have anything to do with guilt that I would say, I don't want to be drawing no more sticks. Holy shit, we know what's going to come. We know the odds are there. Why would I play some more? That would be stupid.
If we say that just life itself is so horrible, it's not simply that it's a risk. It's more than just being a risk, that it's suffering, loss, hardship, death in the end, and it's unjustified and unwarranted to impose that upon another person. And then we say
it's quite ludicrous is what it is. Yeah, it is quite ludicrous. It is break and then spend your life fixing. What's the point in it? You're not going to gain anything extra out of it. All right? All you're going to do is chase desire and need that didn't need to exist. You're going to chase the satisfaction of a need that didn't need to exist. Now fix that paradox. Point out how there isn't something preposterously insane in inadequately satisfying a need that didn't need to exist. I mean, that's the definition of guaranteed failure.
It's wrong to even impose sentience, and you sort of put it on two sides. One, the fact of sentience itself was the act that was wrong, or that life's...
Remember how the act was initiated through a process of evolution. That the only reason why the mechanism exists is to control the behavior of a genetic package, so it could navigate a gauntlet of kill or be killed competition, to climb a mountain of victory that means absolutely nothing. It's just victory. It doesn't mean anything. It just says you win. You know, in a little flashing neon light. You climb to the top, it says you win. That's it. There's no other payoff. There's just you win. What are you going to do with you win? Can you eat you win? Can you fuck you win? Can you do anything with you win? No, you really can't do a goddamn thing with it. It's a useless victory, a pointless victory, and as at the cost of a big, huge pile of bloody you lose that you left in your wake.
Physical structure, all of its injustice and hardships are wrong. On those two ends, the more that we can try to convince ourselves that that's what's wrong in the world, the more that I think we're trying to expiate our guilt.
Again, whatever. You're not trying to do that. You're just making the accusation that people who have a philosophical understanding that life is not a winnable game, and that even if it was winnable, the odds are just so preposterously negative that they would no way say, I'm going to risk that. I'm going to get on that rickety, I mean, are you like, could I pay you enough money to get on like a, one of those, what do you call those barges in some of those poorer countries, where they put 500 people on these crappy little boats, that go cross from island to island. I mean, there's all kinds of things where I could say to you, I'm going to take this syringe and who knows what's in it. You got a 50-50 chance that you're going to live. You're not going to accept that risk. You're going to say it's a stupid risk. Why the fuck would I do that? I get nothing for it, and I take the chance of being tortured. What is my incentive to invest in the future? So Joe Average can live another Joe Average life and call it victory? Some fat pig can fart and belch watching American Idol while some poor person, builds his couch that he's got his dinner sprawled all over? Why the fuck would I invest in that? Why would I buy that stock? Here's a stock for you to purchase. Okay, and put that description on it. Average fucking human is what you're buying. And the price is dead humans, harmed humans, tortured humans, suffering humans, okay, dying hard and alone in ugly, dirty, smelly, stinking places. Why would I buy that stock? It has nothing to do with guilt. It has to do with it's not fucking rational.
Cover over the many ways that we fail one another. The way that we collectively and individually have failed to learn how to love one another, to treat one another.
Whatever. Yeah, exactly. So it's how exactly is this little ministry of yours? I'm sorry to get hostile, but I mean, how exactly do you think if we start loving each other? We got 7 billion people, so that means we're going to have to cut your life way back, fella. Okay? We're going to have to cut you way back in how you're going to live your lifestyle, and what comforts you're going to be able to have, and how much health care you're going to have, and how much fuel you can use, and how many books you're going to be able to like to read. I mean, this is just such a pile of shit. Alright? We're not going to do this love each other thing. It isn't going to fucking happen. You have no evidence that that's going to fucking happen. And even if it did happen, the rational thing to do in love with each other is to say, stop having so many fucking kids so we can have some sort of civilized life here, you fuckers.
fairly and justly to try to make this world as humane and as beautiful and as harmonious as it can be.
Yeah, well, whatever. Like I said, if we can get all the way to that, all right, if you can get the human psychology all the way to this Buddhism, like, okay, I don't need the best looking woman, I don't need the fastest car, I don't need the finest clothes, I don't need status, I don't need cleanliness, I don't need the best food, I don't need safe food, I don't need this, you can do all of this unneedable stuff in love for your fellow man. You can start sacrificing and working for them and doing things for them and do all of that. If you can get human beings to that fucking point, I'm telling you, it's a step this big just to say, fuck it. It really is. The next step is a tiny step. You've gotten all the way up the fucking 900 billion staircase of rationality. And all you have to do is push your foot a little tiny inch more forward, and ding, 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 the bells go off, and then you win. Okay, you just end the stupid, idiotic cheese doodle chase game. Just fuck it. You end your goddamn addiction. You end your attachment completely. You don't need to come back and improve yourself anymore because you're fucking done. You don't need it anymore.
Ways that the particulars of care, the actual everyday of care, seems to get pushed from the side. That's not the issue, and instead it's about this fact of sentience and this fact of all the injustices.
Well, those are big facts, okay? So you want to sit there and take your eye off the ball, but that's the game. That's the game that's been played for billions of years. This is what evolution has done and put us in this predicament. This is our psychology that we come with. So, I mean, it's just pointless to sit there and talk like this isn't the nature of the game. The nature of the game is fighting over nothing, competing over shallow, empty, hollow victory.
Again, our complicity in all the ways that we, individually and collectively, aren't making the world the kind of place that it could be, should be, ought to be. But
well, this preach doesn't even go anywhere either, because there are things you can do. You can not be a Walmart shopper. You can not be an animal consumer. There's lots of little things you can do to satisfy your responsibility to do no harm. First, do no harm. Well, you can do your best to first do no harm. But obviously, as part of this civilization, you're inevitably, through your capitalist empire, going to be exploiting the world. And you can't really fix too much of that. But I'm sure there'd be ways. If you were really committed to it, you could give the money back that you've stolen.
It's over. Again, it's a kind of guilt expiation. It is a strategy that's among them. And how do I say it? It undermines...
I'm just going to argue that, you keep talking this kind of crap, and it's really pretty offensive. You said guilt expiation 5 times, I think, in this video, and you have absolutely no evidence that what people are talking about is their psychological problems with life. They're talking about their philosophical difficulty in coming up with any rational excuse or any rational perspective, okay, that validates this fucking bullshit.
Fact of meaning, that people do have horizons of meaning that make them...
Horizons of meaning. Again, so why don't you just call it what it is? They have preferences and prejudices. They have desires. They have ambitions. They have addictions. That's what they have. So why use this fucking terminology to paint all of that crap under something called meaning? Because most of it doesn't have any meaning. Most of it is completely circumstantial shit. And you know it. It's cultural shit. It's traditional shit. It has absolutely no real integrity. It's just an acquired taste.
still want to embrace the injustices and the hardships of life and to try to make do. I think if we do go back to the
Yeah,
issue,
why try to make do is the point. Why should you accept a clunker, a piece of shit, a pile of garbage? Why? Why would you eat it if it's not edible? Just for the sake of it, just to satisfy your hunger? And that's being stoic. Being stoic is to put your face in the trough and gobble up the crap.
of the person who gives up the baby for adoption. I think this is a person who says, look, it's the particular conditions of care, of thriving, of possible resources, of a likely, loving, meaningful life, despite all the hardship. Now, the person who says no...
Well, whatever. We know what most of these people are, okay? And they're dysfunctional assholes. Okay? It's not some actualized together human being who does this nonsense. This taking a baby to term to give it up for adoption. Or whatever that circumstance. It's some fucking teenager, some fucking drug addict, some other piece of crap. Some dysfunctional asshole. So let's not glorify this behavior either.
There's no conditions under which life is in any way meaningful, and that the suffering over trumps the meaning. I guess that is...
The risk, okay, to the non-participating, the unwilling to participate, the not wanting to participate, the risk to them, the bystanders, that you're going to spray with your crap and your shit to play your game. That's how you have to equate this. You keep talking like every individual gets to decide and that's all that matters. And of course you'll just ignore the people who say it sucked and you'll just pay attention to the people who said it was good. That's not the game. The game is the imposition part. The game is that you have to put all the crap together. And when you bake the pie, you're going to find out that there's too many bad apples in it. Alright? And you can't eat the fucking pie if you're rational. If you're rational, you're not going to eat it when you put all the crap that went into it. Alright? Now, if you're an elitist asshole in a comfortable life, yeah, and you don't have any guilt expedition to do, then yeah, you're going to play some silly game and say life is good. Well, of course, I mean, I don't have malaria, and I don't have fucking worms, and I'm not going to die when I'm 22 in a fucking hole in the ground called the coal mine in China.
Perhaps the truly antinatalist position, it's one that I just can't understand, though. I think there needs to be bigger forgiveness, compassion.
Oh, whatever. I don't have to forgive the universe. That's not my obligation. That's not even the question. Again, you just keep talking like this is something other than just any other system to be evaluated, any other thing obligated to function. Everything else in our life has to perform. This paper towel has certain functionality. This spray bottle has a functionality. Everything has a function. The flashlight has a function. All these things have to function, and they have to perform in some way. And they can't just, I'm not going to keep them in my house if all they are is radioactive in the end, or all they are is poisonous pie.
Recognition of the world's shortcomings, flaws, the degree to which it...
Well, whatever you want to call it. Again, you want to diminish it again and just call it shortcomings and flaws. When some 6-year-old kid gets leukemia and goes through 2 years of bone marrow transplants, you just want to call that a shortcoming or a flaw. Well, that's your business to trivialize. All right? But the bottom line point is what is on the other side of the scale? Why is there any reason for me to accept any imperfection? For what cause? For what necessity? Again, we're back to the argument. Why create need that's not needed? Why create especially a need that is likely to be left imperfectly satisfied that never needed to exist? Until you come up with why it is necessary, for this thing to exist, for these wheels to turn, for everybody to get on the dinosaur and ride it, till you can explain why everybody needs to do that, then you've got nothing.
It's always been a horrifying place, but with the genuine care and love of others, good friends, good conversation, meaningful conversation.
Right, so you're just being like some guy who likes to eat sushi, and you just keep telling me, sushi's really good, sushi's really good, sushi's really good. Well, fuck you. I don't want fucking sushi, alright? Take your sushi and shove it up your fucking ass, alright? It's not good to me. I don't like it. I don't want it. I have no use for it. I mean, so you're just talking like, well, because you see some value, everybody else is supposed to see this value. But you're not describing anything. You're just saying, I like it. And you're not saying anything else. I think the risk is worth it. But there's no explanation of what kind of logic you apply to make that statement. How can I make anything out of that? You're just saying, I like sushi. Well, so what? Okay, what does that have to do with me? And you're right to tell me I have to like it? Fuck you.
It is very interesting about the antinatalist discussion, anyway, is that it gets people riled and it generates meaning because I think it seems to people to be an important topic.
Oh, yeah, right. The fate of billions of sentient organisms might be an important topic. I don't know. Maybe I should go find out. I'll go ask my turtle if the welfare of billions of sentient organisms would be an important topic. Yeah, probably. He might even know that it probably is an important topic. It's probably more important than talking about this pen. That's probably for sure.
I think it's very interesting. Right? I mean, it does have some sort of meaning horizon in talking about these ultimate questions. Right, the ultimate fate of humanity.
Well, isn't that just a given? So again, you're just kind of, hyping here. I mean, shouldn't that be like kind of obvious? Like the word ultimate would have some connection to being meaningful. I mean, is there any way to like separate those concepts? I don't think so. So whatever. Alright, well, the video turned a little more hostile than I intended, but yeah, it's just this whole idea that I have an obligation to forgive the universe. I know, I have an obligation to be rational. I have an obligation to be intellectually honest to my own brain, and to recite some mantra that life is good. Life is good. Why would I do that? Why would I impose on this game something other than the truth? Why would I try to say it means something? I mean, okay, I'm not horny for it. I'm not hungry for it. So I understand you're saying you are. All right? And so now you're creating a rationalization for your hunger. And of course I'm going to say, well, that rationalization is just a rationalization. And maybe you're just going to argue, I'm just rationalizing because I'm not hungry for it. And if I was hungry for it, then I'd be rationalizing like you. But that would still be intellectually dishonest, wouldn't it? I mean, whether we're both rationalizing and understanding, the point is which one is more logical. I mean, which one rings of a truth to an intellectually fair evaluation? And I'm going to say, yeah, my negative rationalization makes a hell of a lot more sense than your, I don't need to explain why it's necessary that we keep doing it. You do need to explain why it's necessary, what value it's producing that overcomes the price tag. What satisfaction is it giving the universe? What need in the universe does our existence on the crust of this planet produce? What value does it produce? What desire or ambition or motivation or anything else does it satisfy outside of the little need machines crawling around on this surface? And the simple answer is zero. Absolutely nothing. Alright, enough of a video. Sorry, another 40 minutes of stuff.